It's not about Trump. It's about our allies and having our ally. Well, I don't think it is.
It's definitely about Trump.
It's about
I'm sorry,
Iran.
Gillian, if it was any other American president, I mean, Trump said that, that Starmer is no Winston Churchill. He's no Franklin D.
I agree
Roosevelt.
with that. I agree.
He's not even a George W. Bush.
Yeah.
This is a capricious man who a few weeks ago was saying that we lost no lives. He was suggesting that we were supportive in Iraq.
But we don't get
really
to vote,
fighting.
right? The American people choose their president. We don't get to choose.
True, but
we don't get to choose. We then have to work with him, and we have to work with him as an ally.
Gillian Keegan, is this Keir Starmer's finest hour?
No, definitely not. It's more, oh dear, Keir, isn't it? I mean, to be on the defensive so soon after, making what is a hard decision. I mean, nobody says this is an easy decision. But I think the problem he has is a track record of very poor decision-making. And every time he makes a decision, literally 48 hours or a week so later, he changes it. And I don't quite know what his principles are. His principle is to be ever flexible or sitting on the fence, because he literally has such a track record that he can't even convince people that he's got this decision right. And actually, if the press is to be believed, maybe his first instinct was actually that he was going to back this, but then his cabinet, he couldn't take them along with him, which is another issue.
You mean The Spectator has been to be believed, that the oldest conservative magazine in the world criticises Labour. No, I don't believe it at all. So
I will ask more about that for viewers in a minute. But is this Keir's finest hour?
Could be. It could well be, and it could well be because there's only three options in this. Either you go all in for Trump, that's what Farage is doing, that's what Badenoch is doing. I think that's a dreadful mistake, but that's one option. Or you go down the Green route, Polanski route, and you seek out a camera somewhere and you slag off the American president. I think that's a daft route. I think the vast majority of the British public are not sure about this. They think there was no consultation here. It just happened. They think Trump really... There's not much doubt that there's no legal basis for this, number one. Number two, those negotiations that were going on about disarmament of Iran's nuclear capability were actually making more progress than Trump has said. So let's wait and see here, and also let's make sure we protect British interests and British lives in the Middle East.
Michael Gove was sitting there saying, actually, there is a legal case for the war, so we know that there's another legal argument.
It's always contested.
Yes.
International law is always contested.
OK, but let me ask you, has the government done enough today to see off criticism from its allies, America and Cyprus? They've sent the Defence Secretary Healy over there. Keir Starmer said we're at heightened awareness. Although you had criticism a moment ago, oh dear Keir, has he done enough today?
I don't think he has. And the problem is, he's got Cyprus, he's got the people of Cyprus saying they're very disappointed. He's got Canada, Australia doing something different. It's not about Trump. It's about our allies and having our ally. Well, I don't think it is.
It's definitely about Trump.
It's about
I'm sorry,
Iran.
Gillian, if it was any other American president, I mean, Trump said that, that Starmer is no Winston Churchill. He's no Franklin D. Roosevelt.
I agree with that. I agree.
He's not even a George W. Bush.
Yeah.
This is a capricious man who a few weeks ago was saying that we lost no lives. He was suggesting that we were supportive in Iraq.
But we don't get
really
to vote,
fighting.
right? The American people choose their president. We don't get to choose.
True,
we don't get to choose. We then have to work with him, and we have to work with him as an ally. And our intelligence services will be working very closely together. They will have intelligence that we don't have, we don't get to see. We did when we were in government, but we won't get to see this. So, you've got to trust that there is a reason why they have done it now and this time, and probably due to the intelligence they had.
Let me just bring viewers up to date with, in the last hour, the President's been speaking. You've just referenced him. We were going to play this later in the programme. It's now relevant, Nick, to ask you what the President's been saying, as both our guests would like to talk about him.
That's right, Paddy. So, as you say, in the last hour, Donald Trump was actually at a reception in the White House for Inter Miami, the football team. And we've had, somewhat sort of mixed messages from the administration in the last few days about what the strategy is. But what Donald Trump has sought to do is, in a sense, get back to base camp, what he was saying at the beginning on Saturday with the baseball cap, which is about regime change. Why don't we just listen to hear what the president had to say?
And I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the military and the police, to lay down their arms. They're only going to be killed. And now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. You're going to have a chance after all these years to take back your country. Accept immunity. We'll give you immunity. And we'll be giving you really the right side of history, because that's what it is. So you'll be perfectly safe with total immunity, or you'll face absolutely guaranteed death.
And Paddy, there's another interesting thing that Donald Trump said a few hours earlier in an interview with Axios, which is that he says, I want to be involved in choosing the new supreme leader. We were reporting the other day that Mujtaba Khamenei, the son of the Ayatollah who was killed the other day, that he would be the leader. And Donald Trump saying, he's a lightweight, I need to be involved in the appointment, just as I was in Venezuela.
Alan, is this the point you're making, that Keir Starmer's now hitched to a disruptive White House, unlike other British Prime Ministers?
Yes, that there's been no planning. You have to learn lessons from previous adventures, and I think Gillian on Libya and us on Iraq, the whole problem in Iraq wasn't so much getting rid of a vile dictator, and, you know, Khomeini was a vile dictator. It was what comes next, and have you got a plan for what you do next? Because the Iranian people in this context, here's Trump telling them, go out in the streets, you'll be fine. Well, number one, if they go out in the streets in Iran at the moment, they'll probably get killed by a bomb. Number two, they won't be fine. They won't be fine. At the moment, that regime is still in place.
And they've said they'll kill them. They've said, come out your house and we'll kill you.
Earlier, I interrupted you both when you were talking about an article in The Spectator by Tim Shipman, which says there's a tug of war, pardon the pun, in the National Security Council. Do you think that Labour, they hear questions on Iran, but all Labour hears is Iraq? Do you think that schism on the left explains what the position, the problematic position of the Labour Prime Minister now?
I think that definitely is a part of it. And I think there is a legitimate point, which is, what is the plan? What is the plan for
And the Iraq catastrophe is instructing Labour now.
That's going to play on their minds. But I think also they have now a party further to the left, Alan mentioned them, the Greens, who have a very different position and are taking votes from them. So, and they also have a mix of MPs who, quite a lot of them, are probably more on the soft left. So I think there's a mixture of things, but yes, it's making them nervous.
So as you say, that's a piece in The Spectator by Tim Shipman. It's an important piece. Bear in mind, in this week's edition, there is also an editorial saying that Ed Miliband should be sacked, mainly focusing on his energy policy, but then a bit on what happened. As I understand it, there was this meeting of the National Security Council on Friday where there was a big discussion. Now, Keir Starmer dismissed the significance of this because he said the request for us to be involved in defensive operations didn't come until after that meeting. There was an earlier decision on the 11th of February not to be part of the offensive operation, but obviously I made it my business to get an idea of what happened in this National Security Council meeting, and as I understand it, there was a bit of a discussion, because it was pretty clear this attack was imminent, about whether we should actually be opening up our bases, Fairford and Diego Garcia, to these offensive operations. As I understand it, this isn't confirmed. The Defence Secretary John Healey was of the view that we should. Keir Starmer was interested in that view but wasn't endorsing it. And what you then had was Rachel Reeves, Ed Miliband, Shabana Mahmood saying no. And one person who's very familiar with these discussions says that was a formidable coalition from all sides of the party. Quite difficult to say no to that.
I'm sorry, but, you know, so what? I mean, if you want to look back at the Second World War, you'll have huge rows between Winston Churchill and Lord Halifax before we actually decided that there would be no compromise on this. You know, this is the minutiae of discussions that go on in government
that was a bit
before
of a different
decision.
That was a huge decision to send our own troops. This was to let them use two air bases.
Hang on.
Our allies use two air bases. It's a different decision.
Use two air bases in an action that was taking place that would kill people.
But perhaps, Alan,
in Iran.
Not as many as the Iranians have
killed.
War.
Yeah, but hold on.
The discussions. I mean, there have been discussions on Libya.
Yeah, but hold on a minute. But perhaps
decisions.
This is the point, Alan. Just hold on. The chilling bit for you is it's war. He's the Prime Minister. He's not the director of the CPS anymore. He's got to behave more like a Prime Minister. And well, as Gillian was saying, his judgment is called into question every judgment he takes. And this is war, and he's vacillating. vacillating between these wings of the Labour Party.
He's not vacillating. He made a decision very clearly, and this
And then changed it,
Well, hang on, let Alan finish.
No, he didn't change it. We saw at the beginning of the programme. His decision was absolutely comprehensible and absolutely
Okay.
right. He would not commit British troops
Right.
to an action that may well be illegal, but he would commit them to defend British interests in the Middle East. What's difficult about that, Julia?
He wasn't asked to commit troops. What he was asked, and this was the first thing, I understand committing troops or even saying you're going to be part of the action is a different decision. The initial decision, which has really annoyed, well, let's say put us at odds with our allies.
Tim Shipman says in The Spectator.
Put us at odds with our allies.
So Tim Shipman says in
No,
a
our allies,
conservative magazine.
they're actually saying it themselves.
All right,
and they've all done something
Gillian,
different.
let me ask
it
you-
was
let
to
me-
use the
hold
two
on.
bases.
Let me
and
ask-
I think
let me ask you,
the
Gillian.
next day he said yes.
Let me ask you about the Conservative leader. And I've just attempted to ask Alan to talk about the Labour leader. Are you sure that Kemi Badenoch's in the right place? She seems to be saying that we shouldn't just be limiting ourselves to defensive operations. She's got this weird metaphor about the archer and the arrows. What do the Conservative Party want? Bombing Tehran? Is it clear where Kemi Badenoch is?
No, I don't know in terms of to what extent, but I think it's to be more decisive, to be working with our allies. You know, our allies have all said, Canada, Australia, they've all said, yes, use our bases. The Greeks are sending...
No, they haven't
because they
said that.
don't have bases. They
No.
can have a cost.
But they've-
yes.
okay, but they've agreed-
Our yes comes
Okay.
at the cost, because then we have to open
Yeah,
up our
so,
budget.
so the answer to the question,
But the
are you
others
comfortable?
have sent ships, they've sent weapons, etc. So do we act as allies? Exactly. So acting as allies is important, and we didn't in the initial thing. We are now,
Right, but
and we are unfortunately a bit behind everybody else, which is why we don't have a frigate there, and the Greeks
Right,
do.
but just to be fair, I did ask you comfortable with Kemi Badenoch is, and you basically said you're not entirely. So just in terms of the record,
I think these are very. I think,
we know
I
they're
think
difficult. But I asked Alan.
these are.
The answer is no.
No, I think to be honest, you'd have to say what it is. The arrows and the archer thing. What do you mean?
All right.
We're sending that frigate. We're sending this troop. We're sending these people. It's a decision based on those kind of facts, not metaphors.